Hi. Welcome. You're the only one. I guess the link didn't mail out. It's supposed to go out 30 minutes before and it didn't. So thank you for letting me know. So
did you mail it out now or no?
No, that's okay. You're just you, and then we'll just record it, and then these are like these classes that I'm teaching every Thursday. I'm slowly building them. So I have only had like 1 or 2 people show up the past few weeks. So when they get bigger and better, then I'll get better at, making sure that everything's streamlined. So this is kind of like practice for me.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. Okay.
So I'm glad that you're here. This will only take about 30 minutes.
Okay.
And we're going to talk a little bit about karma. What is karma? How is karma working in our lives? So we'll get started. You already know me, so you don't need to know any of this. I've been teaching for yoga for 20 years, and I've studied a lot about yoga. So you already know that. So we'll get into what is karma. So karma is divided into 3 different categories. We have sanchita, which is latent karma. Sanchita is the is accumulated from your past thoughts, actions, and the results of which eventually be experienced in the future. Sanchita is like the seed of the tree you planted in the past. In due time, the tree will grow and produce a particular fruit if you eat it. So, for example, right now you have been doing yoga for a while, and you've noticed some differences in your body, probably in your mind, in your life. And then why is my phone is on do not disturb and it's still coming, text messages are still coming through. So the karma that you created for yourself is a result of where you are today. And so all of the work that you've done in your yoga practice shows every time you show up to your mat again and again and again. Is that true?
I think so. Yeah.
Think about your dropbacks. You weren't doing dropbacks before.
No, and even my, just by doing the Ashtanga regularly, the whole series Monday and Wednesday, I feel like last night, I was way, way better, more flexible and stronger. So for sure, doing it regularly and coming every day, I've gotten better.
For sure. Yeah, because that's the Sanchita karma. So it's the actions that you did in the past that you're feeling the results now. And then we have Parabda, or the ripened karma. Parabda is what you're experiencing now. It's a seed of a past action that has grown into a tree, producing the fully ripened fruit you're eating in the present. So let's talk about it like maybe a vacation, right? You planned a vacation, and then you get to the vacation, everything's amazing, right? That's also considered karma. Or a relationship that you eventually, maybe you know, that blossoms, and all the work you've done to get the relationship going, and then it's come into something like fruitful and delicious. And then we have the Agami karma. Agami is a seed of action you're planting in the present that will inevitably produce the fruit of the future. So all the actions you're doing now. So right now you're practicing your yoga practice. We're going to go to India. You're going to be prepared for that. You're going to be prepared mentally and physically and spiritually. And then all the things that you do in India are going to change you, and you're going to be a different person when you get back. So the word karma literally means action. And all of the actions we do and the results of our actions. Okay?
Oh, that's why, like, if you do have like bad actions, you have like bad karma.
Exactly. So, like, how does it work? So we have the 3 categories of karma ultimately work in creating a cycle of cause and effect. The fruit you eat now leaves an impression on your mind, compelling you to plant more of a particular fruit. Agami, which will cause you to eat similar fruit in the future. In other words, karma is habit forming. Repeating actions become like grooves in the mind that get deeper and deeper. You have the free will to change your habits at any time, but the deeper you groove, the harder those habits, whether good or bad, are to change. So you have good habits now that are bringing you a good result. But what about some of our bad habits, like overeating? And we constantly repeat that pattern, then we continue to gain weight and we don't get healthy. Or gossiping. We constantly talk about people behind their backs. It gets to those people, and then they don't want to be friends with us anymore, or other people don't want to be friends with us. So our habits are also considered karma because that is your actions.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And so we can transcend karma. We don't it can be for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, but we have to seriously think about our own personal actions, right? We hear this term, karma's a bitch, right? I'm sure you've heard that.
Yeah.
And karma really isn't a bitch. Karma is something that we create for ourselves. It's not something that's outside of ourselves. It's not something that's just going to come back around. For example, Paramahansa Yogananda tells a story about a man who, he was just minding his own business, and a man that he had known from his past comes up and just punches him in the face. And he's like, well, I deserve that because I punched that guy in the face 10 years ago, so I deserve that now. And Yogananda is like, no, that's not true. He's like, you could have mollified the guy. You could have created peace with the guy. You could have asked for forgiveness. You could have done so many other things to prevent yourself getting hit in the face. So, just to accept karma as fate is also incorrect.
Wait, say that again. So like saying like, okay, he doesn't deserve it because even though he did that to the guy in the past, because he could have done so many things like in between to change his karma.
Exactly. Yes. And when he saw that karma coming back around, he could have prevented it from happening. Even when it came right in front of his face, he could have been like, no, I'm sorry. Right.
Got it. Okay. Got it. I like that because it's like, then it's not like, if you've done stuff in your past, like before you grew into the person that you are today, it's not like you're inevitably still going to get like, bad karma because of who you were back then.
Exactly. So practicing yoga, really what my teachers say is burning your karma. So when you practice yoga, you're not just cleansing yourself, your physical self and your mind, but you're also burning away all that negative stuff that you would expect to come back to you if you lived in a karmic way.
I love that.
So they say burning your karma. You are burning your karma. You'll hear that when we go. And so the meaning of karma, the word karma literally means action. And whatever actions you take, there will be a result or reaction. So when the eternal soul identifies with the physical body, the soul becomes attached to what this body is doing, feeling, and thinking, seeking out pleasurable experiences and avoiding unpleasurable ones, accumulating the karma the whole time. Even good actions performed with the intent of gaining some reward binds a person to this world, as that good karma has to be experienced at some point. So, for example, when I was a school teacher, I felt like if I taught at the inner city school, then it would be a good thing because I'm helping society. And, if you help those less fortunate than you, then you're going to be happy. And I was miserable. I hated it. And I realized I was doing it for the wrong reasons. I didn't do it because it already made me happy and fulfilled. I was doing it with an expectation that it would make me happy and fulfilled.
Right.
So whatever you do, even a good deed, expecting something to come back to you because you did it is being attached to the cycle of like birth and death and attachment. And we want to practice non-attachment, even to karma, right? So when you practice karma isn't expecting something to come back. It's doing something joyfully without attachment to the result. So not having attachment to the result is actually what karma is really about, and breaking free of karmic cycles in this life. So
because if you have attachment, then you can get disappointed. Like then you have expectation. Like if you have expectations, then if it doesn't result in that way, then it's like, then you have like disappointment and everything versus just doing it because you're just doing it no matter whatever the outcome is. It still makes you kind of happy to do it.
Exactly. And true like happiness is when you do for yourself first and it automatically benefits other people.
Right.
Instead of trying to do something to benefit other people, but at the same time sacrificing yourself.
And then being upset when it doesn't actually get the results you want.
Exactly. And so we don't want to live our lives like that. We want to move through our lives joyfully. And the Bhagavad Gita, which is the holy book of the Hindus, but it is a scientific book, says, fortunately, the way of breaking free from karma cycle is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. Without being attached to the fruit of activities, one should act as a matter of duty, for by working without attachment, one attains the supreme. And the supreme would be the universe, God, the high power, whatever that is for you. And so when we do good deeds just out of, pure joy, then we are not affected by karma. We can transcend karma, and karma doesn't affect us.
I love that.
Yeah. And because the supreme, another word for the divine, is the source of creation, the person's real duty is to perform spiritually uplifting work. This means acting not for one's own material desires, but for the spiritual benefit of oneself and others. By doing such selfless work, a being becomes an instrument of the divine and is thus no longer tied to the results of its action, thereby discontinuing its karmic circles. So it's not that you have to drop everything and go live a life of devotion. It's like, when you're doing those random act of kindnesses, you want to do them, without any attachment, just because you enjoy doing them. When you do a good job at work, or when you help others out, or when whenever you do something that automatically benefits others, there's no attachment to it. You just enjoy it. It's like when you're at the grocery store and they have those bags at Christmas time, or Thanksgiving, and you're like, you know what? I won $20 on the lottery today. I'm going to spend $20 on that, and bring it to the register. You know what I mean? And then it feels good. Or, you have a big, you're at a party or whatever, you're at a restaurant with a bunch of friends, and that there's like 20 people at this table and the servers are going bananas, doing everything they can to, and then you just give them an extra $20, $30, on the side, because it makes you feel good. And that's it. That's all there is. But people think that karma is like going to come back at them and it's always out there waiting for them.
Yeah. And I think that, like, I've noticed when I'm like that, like without work, or like when I'm able to be in that moment where, or just in life where I'm not like attached to anything and I'm just kind of trying to like live and be happy and stuff, that's like when things start to flow the most. And like a lot of times, like without even realizing it, I've noticed like a lot of like good or things have like just occurred. I like look back, oh, I didn't even like realize it, but I was just kind of, it was just like all flowing.
Yeah, everything flows when you're just like in that space and you're not worrying about the outcome. You're just enjoying the process of what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it is, it's a good association in one's key spiritual growth, because karma is habit forming. Creating those deep grooves in the mind can be very difficult to make and follow through with better choices, even if one wants to. So it's like, you know, you want to lose weight, but you don't want to stop eating the cookies. Well, then you don't really want to lose weight, right?
Yeah.
You want a better life, but you don't want to, you know, be open-minded and help others in a way that's going to benefit them. Then you don't really want a better life. You just want to stay in the life that you're living.
Right.
So take, for example, exercise. And here's the example I gave before. Exercise, lack of exercise makes us less healthy, less energy, and causes laziness. The more people choose not to exercise, the worse they generally feel. And the worse they feel, the harder it will be for them to begin exercising, even if they wanted to break the negative cycle. So our choices shape our perception of reality, which is why less people exercise, the more they might come to believe they're simply incapable of getting in shape, fueling a cycle of negative exercise karma. It's like, you know, anybody who has a bad habit, right? That groove is so deep that trying to change that bad habit, whether it's smoking, whether it's overeating, whether it's gossiping, whether, you know, it's, biting your nails, right? You've done it for so long, stopping the process, you don't even believe that you can.
Right.
So it can be very difficult to break your own personal karmic cycles. And when you realize that karma is something that you put on yourself and not something that, you know, the universe is out there trying to, or karma's a bitch and she's external and she's trying to get you. You know? When you realize that you create and you destroy your own karma, you live a much freer life. And so how do we break free from karma? Well, by spending time with people who are not only disciplined in their exercise routines or any positive routines, but also willing to share what they know. One has a much better chance of breaking through personal negative health habits to create new positive ones. In the same way, by spending time and taking guidance from spiritually advanced souls, it becomes possible to overcome lifetimes of karmic baggage, opening the door to profound spiritual growth. So let's say you want to cut out cigarettes. You don't want to smoke cigarettes anymore. But, you know, you're always putting yourself in a place where it's easy for you to smoke a cigarette, right? In your car by yourself, at the bar where that still allows cigarette smoking. Instead of going places where you know it won't be accepted, so you kind of shame yourself into it so that you don't do it until you finally break free of that karmic cycle. Because we all know that just quitting something cold turkey without support or without barriers on yourself is very difficult.
Wait, say about the bar. So you're saying
you want to put yourself in situations where you're going to be successful. So,
right. Okay.
Yeah, like I didn't want to party so much anymore. So I purposely made myself teach yoga at 8 o'clock on Sunday mornings.
Right.
So I would cut out going out on Saturday, cut out the drinking and partying and staying up late, because I didn't want to focus more on yoga, but I had to force myself to do it. So, and that's how you break a karmic cycle, by putting yourself in places where you're going to be better.
Where you're going to succeed. Yeah.
Where
you have more chance to succeed.
Exactly, where you have more of a chance to succeed. And then also, all souls are part of the divine and thus spiritual in nature. We are all spiritual. We are not physical. We are spirits in a human body. We are not human bodies with a spirit. So according to the Bhagavad Gita, just as sparks of a fire become extinguished when separated from the fire, souls forget their true spiritual nature when separated from the divine source. We are always connected to divine source, but when we are in those negative karmic cycles, it's almost like we've kind of cut off that connection. And they call these sheep. And as we grow as we go from childhood to adulthood, we put on more sheaths, right? We kind of dim our own lives by believing what people tell us. Go to school, get a job, get married, have kids, do this, do that. You know, this is how you should lead your life. This is what success looks like, blah, blah, blah. And then we get to about middle age and we realize it's all bullshit.
That we're all different and we all have different journeys.
We have different journeys, and we should be able to live our lives exactly how we want to live them, and not how society, you know, has set it up for us. And all these beliefs. I mean, like, I was raised Catholic. I thought that I was going to be also, even when I first started my yoga journey and I was practicing Ashtanga every day, I was told that, like, I felt like I was a bad person if I missed a day of asana practice, you know?
Oh.
And you come to realize that those things are simply completely untrue. And
but for me, sometimes, like, I'll put those things on, like, myself, you know. It's like sometimes I can put my own, like, not pressures, but like make up my own stories in my head about, like, that I need to practice every day, or I need to do this every day, when it's like, really, that's not really the case, you know?
Right. Like, what is your reason? Do you do it every day because it brings you joy and it feels?
Oh yeah. I mean, I do that example is like,
yes,
I do that one every day because joy. But like some other things, like work or something, right? Like where it's like, I'll put the like, I worked at, like, such a high level where it's like not everybody's, like, working to that high level, and I don't necessarily need to probably be working to that high level, you know, like, and working so late and stuff, and it's not like it's bringing me a ton of joy to do it, right? It's just like I put my own not perfectionism, but, like, you know, standards or whatever, that, but they're not, it doesn't bring me joy. It's just like, it's like my own, like, yeah, I don't know. I've been better about it, like setting boundaries with work.
Yeah, it's also your own karma, right? Like,
yeah.
You're pushing yourself to be something or do something that doesn't really make you happy or fulfilled, or, you know, just because that's the habit you've been in for so long.
Right. Yeah. So, like, this India trip, right? Like, it's like, I'm like, no, I'm just gonna do it. Like, I don't know that I've ever taken, I don't even know, maybe I've taken a week off of work, like, in my entire career of working. Yeah, probably a week, the most. And so I'm like, no, I'm gonna do this. And even when I, like, presented the idea or the concept, you know, my boss was like, that's a long time. And, like, it is, you know, but, like, other people are doing it. Like, I'll see other people take 2.5, 3 weeks. And I just had to, like, keep being like, yes, it is. Like, but it's like they're not used to me doing something like that. So, but it doesn't make it acceptable, you know, like, it's like they had 6 months to figure it out, you know? So I feel like that's like a step in me doing better, like, karma for myself and setting that boundary, and then blocking out time for yoga, like even the Monday, Wednesday nights, you know, I have to block my calendar so I don't get stuck in work meetings, and I make sure I stop for it.
Right, because if you're not planting the seeds of goodness for your future down the road, right, and you're still doing the same things over and over for work, that's not going to make you happy in the long run.
Exactly.
You know? And these are the people that get to be 60, like my husband's boss is in his 60s, and he's not performing very well at his job because he's got health issues and stuff, but he won't retire either because he doesn't know who he is without his job.
Right. And so that's the I guess that's the karmic cycle I'm in the process of trying. Like, I feel like I'm doing a good job, like, breaking the cycle. Like,
You are.
yeah. and it's made me happier. It's made me so much happier. Like, so much happier. And it hasn't changed anything for the negative at work. Like, it hasn't changed, like, you know, how much work I get done, or, like, their perception of, you know, how well I do, or anything like that. Like, and I think those were false fears maybe that I had. Like, if I don't work 24/7, that there may be this perception that I'm not a high performer, but that's not the case. Like as I'm like going through the process of breaking the cycle, I've noticed it hasn't changed any of that. I'm still considered like a high performer, and I'm setting boundaries for myself to do things that actually make me happy.
Yes, and you're probably happier at work now too, because
Yeah.
you're forcing yourself to take the time to do the things that make you happy.
And I let go of like the silly stuff, like the little silly things that would annoy me and make me like upset. Like I'm quicker to let those go at work. Like I'm quicker to not let it bother me so much.
Exactly, because
Yeah, that's such a good example. This is like, yeah, it's very so true of what's going on in my life right now.
Oh my God, well, I'm so glad you attended because it was meant for you.
Yeah, I know.
And, and also karma is attached to past lives, like philosophically, and they say that, the soul moves through the cycle of birth and death until after several lifetimes, divinity in nature is fully realized. And the cycle of reincarnation ends and the spiritual liberation, moksha, is achieved. Now, whether or not you believe in past lives, it doesn't matter, because whatever you lived, whatever cycles, whatever beliefs that you had in this life are also considered past lives.
That right? Oh, right. That like you've already like switched to like another belief or whatnot, like as you grow.
Exactly. You were not the same person that you were when you were younger, when you were doing things that probably weren't karmically so good for yourself. It might have been fun, yeah. The drinking, the partying, the hooking up, all those things, but as you got older, you realize maybe those things are not good for my energy. They're not good for the long term. And you start to soften and you start thinking about, how can I be a better person? How can I love myself more, or even love myself at all? Mm. And so that was a lifetime ago, your 20s, your teens, your 30s, even those were lifetimes ago, and you were a different person then. And so these cycles, you transcend. It's more like a spiral going up, right? You transcend. And so if you think about life when you're younger and you keep repeating the same cycles, right? Like, I want the candy. No, you can't have the candy, and then eventually you stop asking for the candy when you can't have it, and you start these little behaviors. And as you get older, these cycles become bigger, dating the same guy over and over, a different guy, right? And now you're in the same cycle, but then you transcend it and you go around again, and you maybe date a different guy. This is just an example. Like for me, when I used to date, you date a different guy who's less like the other guys, but you're still kind of, and then you finally transcend that, and it becomes and then your cycles become bigger and longer journeys, and you stop repeating the same habits and behaviors, and you start creating new ones that raise your vibration, that take you to a higher place.
Yeah.
But sometimes you see those patterns of behavior, like, I see it in myself as well, working for myself. I get really motivated and I do a whole bunch of stuff. And then the next day I'm all exhausted and mentally. And I'm like, how can I keep the momentum? Like yesterday and Tuesday, I was like, and then today I'm just like, I can't even look at the computer. But it gets better when you start realizing your karmic cycles, whether it's just this lifetime, this period of time on planet Earth, or whether it's, past lives that you've had. And it talks a little bit more about past lives in the next one. Oh, it talks about samsaras. I don't think I put it in here, but samsaras are like little bits of energy, beliefs, patterns of behavior, habits that you kind of have a hard time letting go of. So like certain beliefs about yourself, like you're not good enough, you're not skinny enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not smart enough, you're never going to be able to compete, you'll never be able to do this. These are samsaras. These are little beliefs about yourself. Or, always sticking your finger in your mouth when you're nervous, that's a samsara, right? So we want to also break free from these little that kind of put cracks in our armor.
So what's the best way, like, for instance, like even just the work thing, right? Like as we were talking, like it became like apparent that that's like one of the cycles that I'm like in the process of changing or whatnot. But like, is it through like meditation or what, where like you kind of, think through or identify some of your samsaras or your other, things that like maybe there's something that I need to break, or it would be good for me to break a cycle, but I don't even I have no awareness of it yet, right? Like how do you come to that awareness of some of like these things that you could potentially like try to change your cycle?
Well, meditation is the first way. Meditation allows you to calm the mind down so that you can think more clearly, but also recognizing your thoughts. So when you have a thought that says, oh God, here we go again, I have to deal with this boss. And that's your thought pattern, right? And you realize, wait, no, maybe if I take a different approach, and you change that thought pattern before it even comes out of your mouth. Right. So
Right.
Observing your thoughts and realizing, oh God, like let's say you have a boss or somebody that you dread talking to. And every time you talk, but you're going to have a meeting with this person, you feel dread.
Right.
What if you said, you know what, I'm going to feel love for this person today. And you change your emotion towards that energetic interaction. And then that person actually becomes more easy with you. And you're like, God, why didn't I try leading with love, and a smile the first time instead of being.
Yeah. I like that. Because like sometimes there are like people that like it's really hard for me because a little bit like there's just like so much politics at work, and then like I have big done stuff, and then when I go into the meeting, I already have that energy. Just makes work like I just feel not as good. But if when you're able to sit a little bit, let it go of that, and then I still have feelings about politics, much easier.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like changing our emotions and thoughts about certain situations, or like even when you have a negative thought about yourself, like for me, I'm very body conscious, right? Like I want my body to look a certain way, to feel a certain way. And when I don't look and feel the way that I want to, I have negative words for myself in my head, and I'm like, you're freaking 50. You work out hard. You look better than most 50-year-olds. Like,
yes, you're amazing. You're amazing.
I'm amazing. And so are you. But, I still have those thoughts, and I need to break those thoughts, because every time I have one of those thoughts, I still want to go eat a cookie.
Right.
And if I didn't have those thoughts, then maybe I wouldn't want to go eat the cookie. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't even occur to me. So, observing our thoughts about situations, observing our feelings, because we can react with feelings, but when we have control over our thoughts, we can choose our feelings.
I like that. Yeah.
And, like when something tragic happens, it's not so devastating. Or when something difficult happens, like you can say, oh my God, like just as an example, not to bring any negative, but like, oh my God, I didn't see that coming. I had no idea I was going to get fired or lose my job. But then all of a sudden you're like, you know what? I think there's a better opportunity for me. And maybe the universe was just like, hey, there's a better opportunity for you. Let's just cut ties with this,
Yeah.
And really seeing things from a whole different perspective will help you break your karma. But it first comes with observing the thoughts, and that comes through meditation.
Okay. And then obviously the awareness, like before today's class, I wasn't aware of like karmic things, and now I can be aware, and when something pops up, and I realize like, oh, I can change this. I can break the cycle.
Exactly. You can always break the cycle. And so when something happens to you, like, God, I forget what happened. Something happened to me the other day, and I was like, yep. Yeah, that seems right. I was like, there was a crack in my armor. I had done something, and I knew I didn't know it was going to come back, but I'm like, oh, it just, yeah. And so you have to also take responsibility for everything that happens to you. It doesn't matter if you're sitting at a red light and somebody rear ends you. Something in your energy allowed that to happen. And when you take responsibility for everything that happens for you too, then you can start breaking those karmic cycles as well.
Right.
Instead of putting the blame on other people, because the more you put blame on other people, the more karmic buildup you're going to have.
And you can't count on other, like you can only really change yourself and your thinking and your like behaviors. You can't change other people. So if you think on other people and expect them to change, well, then you just be miserable because you can't control if people are going to change or not.
Exactly. Nobody's going to change for you.
Yeah.
They're only going to change for themselves. And you can say something and do something to alter their behavior to make it, you know, slightly the way you want it to be. But, you know, like you say, that makes me mad. Stop doing that. And then they stop doing it for a little while. But then, you know, then like we did for our mothers, you know, all of us women, every single woman I know, we altered our behavior for our mothers because our mothers wanted us to be a certain way. And we didn't want to be that way, especially us Gen Xers. You know, and when we realized that we, like, everything I had been doing or the way I had been behaving was to mollify my mother, I realized I don't have to, even up until my 40s and 50s, like, you know, it's a pattern I'm still trying to break. You know, and it's gotten a lot better over the past 10 years, but like, we don't want to put that on anybody else either, because that's our karma trying to get, if we're trying to force other people to behave in a way that's going to make us feel better, right? Then that's our karma. And when those people decide that they don't want to behave the way we want them to behave anymore, it's going to come back on us.
Yeah.
So, or they're going to move out of our lives.
Yeah. Yeah, that's happened too. Yeah.
So karmic principles and choosing right action. So the doctrine of karma also is known as the law of karma, or the great law, has several principles: cause and effect. People experience the consequences of their own actions, even if they are predetermined. So they're saying that, you know, some things are predetermined, right? Like, for example, you know, you're driving your car, it runs out of gas. It's going to run out of gas. Your car is going to run out of gas. At the end of the day, you will be tired. These things are predetermined. So you have to prepare for them. Okay. There will be an effect. And then small actions, even small actions can have big results, such as great happiness or sadness. It's just like dropping the rock in the puddle or in the pond, and the waves get bigger and wider as they spread out. And it can be just a small pebble.
Oh,
and non-transferable. Karma is not something that can be passed to others. Your karma is created by you, and you are the result of all your actions as a result of your own karma. And then non-committed actions. Uncommitted actions won't lead to the desired results. So, like, if you, let's say you're kind of doing something half-assed, like if you want to get healthy or you want to lose weight, but you still have a ton of excuses. And I've worked with women, you know, who wanted to get healthy, and I'm like, you need to do this, this, and this. Walk 30 minutes a day, fill out this form, and make sure you're on the call on time. You know, they show up to the call 10 minutes late. They didn't fill out the form. They make excuses for why they didn't walk. Well, then you're not committed, so you're not going to get the desired results that you want. And then karmic actions don't go away on their own. You can't just slap somebody and then be like, oh, I'm going to be a good person now, and expect to not have some sort of karmic reaction to that. You have to do the work. You have to observe your thoughts. And when that person is ready to come back, or that energy is ready to come back, you have to be able to be like, I'm a different person now. Let's change the result of this karma. And so that's your lesson on karma. Do you have questions?
Yeah.
And a lot of people think it's something that it's not. And now that we get to talk about it and understand it a little bit better, we can use it more for our advantage.
I think the biggest thing is, like, I think the misconception, and even like when I think I'm kind of guilty of it too, because I didn't like deep dive into like what karma is, but like like just originally thinking of what karma is, you just kind of think like, oh, what you put out, like you get back kind of. But the whole part about the fact that like, yeah, you can put it out there, but in between there, you have a chance to change like what you get back kind of, because you can change like you can change the cycle. Like even though you put something out before, you still have the opportunity. You don't just have to wait for it to come back. Like if it was negative, wait for it to come back to you like negatively. That you can work to change like your karma by understanding like what you put out that was negative and like breaking that cycle.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can even have, maybe you did somebody wrong many years ago and they come back to you and they see that you're a different person. They might even say to you, you know, you did me wrong a long time ago, but I see that you've changed. Can we be friends? Or I forgive you. Or I just, you know what I mean? They're not going to come back with the same karma because you're different. So you're not going to get the same karma you put out in the past because you're different and you're better now.
Yeah. And I think that's like the biggest, like for me, the biggest takeaway on karma, like after this, because it's like typically when I just think karma, it's like, oh, whatever I put out, I get back. But that whole piece in the middle where like you can change, and then your karma may look like different from what it was originally going to look like.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And you're going to notice karma a little bit more working in your life, you know, you're going to know because sometimes it's very subtle, right? You know, and you're going to be like, oh, the butterfly landed. You know what? The butterfly came to give me a message. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you're going to notice little things that are going to come back to you in positive and negative ways. And it's not to say that we want to get rid of the karma altogether, but we want to transcend it, like you said, and change it and not be affected by it, but still notice it working for our benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, Krista, I'm so glad that you joined me on this talk.
So you're trying to do more like kind of information session classes. Is that what you said?
Yes, every Thursday at 2, I'm doing this webinar, and you know, mostly to promote my products and my training programs, but also because, you know, I want to get the information out there and I want to be a source of, you know, of good information. And I also feel like, you know, the asana classes are just, you know, such to the forefront that people forget that there's a whole life path laid out for you in yoga. And if I can teach what I really love, you know, to people who really want to learn it, then hopefully I can kick open the door of yoga to them and they can go down the yogic path.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I remember one of your I don't know what they're called, but you know, the like voice memo thingies on it, and then talking about how asanas are only just like a little piece of living like a yogi life. Like it just, there's so much more to it than just the actual physical asanas.
Yeah, and when you go on the trip to India, you're going to be engrossed in it. You're going to.
I know, I'm so excited.
I'm so excited too. I can't wait. I just love India and I love it there. But it's also for me like a vacation too, because I get to, you know, I get to experience all the same things you are. I don't have to teach. So it is a vacation and a learning lesson for me too. So, and it's just such a nice fulfilling way to make yourself happy, I guess.
And be like around like like-minded like people for so long too.
Yes. And everybody's kind of in the same spot where they've been practicing yoga for a while, but they don't really know what to expect as far as all of these other things that we're going to be learning and experiencing. And of course, there's vacation in there too. So a little bit.
I know. I have the images of like, I think that like one hotel you showed me where it's just gorgeous. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait.
I know. I'm so excited too. So, and I like switching it up a little bit each trip so that I get to do some things different and I can perfect it. And last time on the trip, we had different drivers every time we went from city to city. So we didn't know what kind of van we were going to get. And sometimes the van was a little too small and everybody was really cranky. Like I told you it was going to be rough. Just, and most of the people were good about it, but there was one lady who we called the mosquito. And there was karma. I'll tell you my little karma story. So we went to the ashram on the second week. We didn't do the ashram on the first week. And this lady was just a pain in the ass. I mean, just a big pain in the ass for everybody, not just me. And on the last day we were at the ashram, there's meditation at 5 o'clock in the morning or 5:30 in the morning, and they ring a bell. And so you can get up and go to meditation if you want. And I had been to meditation some of the days because I didn't want to get up that early. So, I went on this last day, and this mosquito was biting the hell out of me. It kept biting me in the butt too. It was going through my pants and just biting me in the butt over and over and over again. And I'm like, what the hell? I go, I've been here for so many days. I haven't received one mosquito bite, but this one mosquito is biting me. And I'm sitting there in meditation. I'm like, oh God, the damn mosquito.
And it was only you, nobody else in the.
I didn't know if anybody else. There's like 50 people there meditating. Yeah. And then as I'm sitting there getting more and more frustrated, I'm like, you know what? Julie's the mosquito. She's the mosquito. It's not that big of a deal, Maureen. She just likes to be the mosquito in every situation, and you just have to let it go. Take a deep breath. And as I'm feeling that energy, I'm like, okay, mosquito, bite me all you want. You're not going to hurt me. You're not going to injure me. Go ahead. Go ahead, mosquito. And when I surrendered to the mosquito stopped biting me. And when I finally calmed down, I go, and now the meditation is over. 3, 2, 1. Ding, ding, ding. They rang the bell. I knew it. And so I had learned the lesson in the 30 minutes I was sitting there, but I didn't get it until like the last 2 minutes, which I knew was going to happen. And so meditation definitely helps. And she really was. She wasn't a bad person. She was just an annoying person.
Yeah, I know some of those. Yeah.
And so, that's another, like when you realize the karma that's coming back at you, you're learning the lesson. And when you learn the lesson, then the lesson leaves you and you become such a better person.
I like that. Yeah, that's so true. It's like your next life, like in your life, like how you talked about the little like past lives in your life. It's like you learn that lesson and then you go on to another lesson once you figure it out.
Yep, absolutely. So there's that. So bring some mosquito bug spray.
I get really bad. I hope. Are there a lot of mosquitoes there?
Yes and no. It just depends. I mean, sometimes there are, sometimes there aren't. Like, there's not a lot of standing water at the ashram, but we are outside a lot. So there are mosquitoes. It's the same as Florida. It's the same.
Mm-hmm. I've been pretty good so far, not getting bit here. But when I do get bit, they're like very like big welts. Like, like I get mosquitoes like me. Like I get.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and when we're eating different foods and stuff, and probably bathing with different water and different products, you might find that might be different.
It's true.
Because they can smell your blood, so we'll see. They're India mosquitoes. They might not like your blood anyway.
I hope they don't like my blood.
All right, Krista, we're all finished for today. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay, I'll see you Monday for sure.
I'll see you Monday. Okay, bye.
Okay. Bye.